everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rosie and I am a recent graduate of Oxford, and I thought that I would tell you today about how much Oxford actually cost me so that maybe you could try to start budgeting and perhaps earning some money for when you get there. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the part-time jobs you can get when you're at Oxford and what the rules are when that. Yeah, this is kind of how I funded my degree and what I spent my money on. Before I talk about how much I spent, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about how the fees work in the UK and, the student loan system. So my degree is 3 years long. Each year costs £9,250, and if you are a UK home student at a UK university, there's a bit of difference between Scottish students and Welsh students, and possibly Irish, I'm not actually sure, but definitely Scottish anyway. So if you are an English student like myself and you're going to any UK university, then it costs you £9,250 max. That is a cap. They can't charge more, they might charge less. If you are a Scottish national, or if you have lived in Scotland for, I think it might be 5 years, but I'll put the actual stats up on the screen, and you go to a Scottish university, then you can go for free. So my university costs £9,250 per year. I went for 3 years. So that's my debt from student loans. I didn't pay any of it up front, it is all loans. And in the UK you can get a loan for your fees so that the government essentially pays them up front, and then almost instantly, you have to pay interest on your loan, which is quite a lot. So from September the 1st, 2019, the interest on all English student loans was 5.4%, which is a lot of interest. That's the same for pupils in Wales. So basically the minute you get that loan of £9,250, you're paying 5.4% on every bit of it. And eventually, if you pay it off, you'll have paid off a lot more than what you initially took out. That's how a loan works. The student loan doesn't have to be paid back. This is for undergraduate until you are earning £25,000 a year. Yeah, they can't take any money off you until you are earning that much. I think you can voluntarily pay, but you don't have to. And also after a certain amount of years, it gets wiped if you haven't paid all of it yet. So that's just the tuition fees.
If you're confused, don't worry, I was really confused too, but the Gov website is so much more confusing, so I just thought I'd break it down for you quickly. I was trying to check stuff through and I didn't really understand it myself. So basically what you need to know is you guys are likely on plan 2. This changes the amount that you have to pay back and changes the interest. So a plan 2 is anyone who has started university in England and Wales after 2012. So I assume that you guys are on plan 2, if not you're on plan 1. But with plan 2 you pay the 5.4% interest as soon as you start studying. So you only start paying back your student loan on plan 2 if you're earning over £511 a week or over £2,214 a month before tax or other deductions. Tax year ends on the 6th of April every year, so it's just how much you earn from April to April. This again may change every year, which means you might not consistently pay back your student loan. As far as I'm aware, that works out to around £25,000, but I'll do the math on the screen. So you only pay 9% of the amount of money over the threshold. So the threshold is £511 a week. So say you are on a wage of £600 per week. The weekly threshold is 511, so your income is £89 over that threshold. And what that means is you will pay back 9% of £89 that week. So that one would work if, say, your weekly income isn't consistent but is an average of over £600. If you are following the monthly threshold, so if you are paid annually, then your total earnings for the year will be divided by 12. And for each of those months, you will pay 9% on what is over £2,214. So say your income for the month is £2,400, you are £186 over the threshold for each month, so you'll pay back 9% of £186 each month. Now, the interest rate starts while you're studying for 5.4%, and it applies until the 5th of April after you finish or leave your course, or for the first 4 years of your course if you're studying part-time. And after that, your interest rate depends on the income in the current tax year. I know it's really confusing. No one ever explains these things to you, but hopefully this helps a little bit. Anyway, back to past, Rosie.
So that's the tuition fees for home students. If you are an international student, then according to topuniversities.com, you will pay between £24,750 and £34,678 per year for most courses, and that is because every college has a college fee on top of an actual university fee. I'll link all of the, if you're an international student anyway, I'll put all of the college things on there so that you can look into how much it's going to cost you, but it does cost more for international students. For English students, and the reason I'm doing English students is because I'm not entirely sure how other countries in the UK work, but for English students you can also get a maintenance loan on top of this tuition fee loan, and that comes from Student Finance England. You apply for both of the loans on the same website. It's pretty straightforward, and again I'll link that in the pinned comment, because if you haven't already applied for a student loan and you're starting in September, October, then you really should be getting that done. Go and do it. A maintenance loan does have to be paid back. They used to be maintenance grants until the coalition government changed it. I put a screenshot on the screen now which is telling you the maximum amount of money you can get, and as I said, this is dependent on household income, so it's means tested. Essentially, the more your parents earn, the less maintenance loan you can receive. At Oxford there are also extra maintenance grants or scholarship and bursary things which are all means tested, so I did a video on these scholarships and bursaries. I'll link them in the pinned comment because you might be eligible for a lot more money than you expect, or at least a little bit more money than you would be expecting, and that could really help you out. Right, and on to how much I spent. Sorry that was a long intro, I just thought it needed to be explained about how the actual loan system works, because a lot of people ask me how I could possibly have afforded university and funded my time there without my parents paying for it, and that is because it's all loans, basically government loans that I still need to pay back. So I worked this out sort of approximately. Some of them is exact, I know exactly how much I spend on certain things, and other ones are guesses, averages of weeks, and yeah, I've just tried my best to make it as accurate as possible. But every year varies quite a lot because of the different accommodation you live in, the different amount of weeks that you're in university for, and that comes out a lot in the cost at the end. So first year for me was cheap compared to the other years, much cheaper. So I only paid for 27 weeks in rent because we are only there during term time. We had to move everything out at the end of each term, and it was £144 a week, so 144 times 27 is £3,888 for a year of rent in first year. We also had to pay for a JCL membership and a charity donation, which is £24 for the whole year, and I travelled home once a term for £50, £55 for a train ticket, so I've put that down as 150. It might be slightly more, it might be slightly less, but it was around 50, so that's that. On that note, bursary holders now will get free travel if you live a certain distance away, so you get a free budget basically. I think it's £500 for the distance that I live to go home as many times as you need to during the year. Again, it says that in the video in my pinned comment. In first year we lived on site, so we had limited kitchen access, but I did cook a lot and also go to hall. So hall is like the canteen, but it's a bit fancier. You don't have to act fancy, but it looks fancy, if that makes sense. I worked out that in second year I paid £230 to UPay Chile, which is the format thing that you pay. You load your card up with UPay Chile. That's how much I put onto the card. I might not have actually spent all of that on food, it might have been tickets for some things, but that's the best figure I've got, so I'm just going to use that for first year as well, so that's £230. I went to a ball in first year and kind of went all out with this ball. I paid £90 for the ticket, £20 for nails, £30 for a dress, £20 for shoes and £5 for a bag. Comes to £165, which is a lot of money, and I never did that again. I also paid for an Oxford Union Life membership in first year, and that was £259, and a further £9, or is it 250 plus 9? Yeah, £250 plus £9. So an Oxford Union membership is a lot. It is cheaper in, I think, the first 2 weeks of term, and they kind of get you in that. Like, I felt like because I'd got to Oxford, I was obliged to get this membership, and because I get a big loan, I was like, am I going to be missing out if I don't get this? It lasts for life. So I got it, but don't feel like you have to. There's been a fair amount of scandal with the union, and I don't like to think that my money has gone into that, but you know. In first year, I paid for a whole year of gymnastics. I never went in the middle term and the last term because I injured myself, but we paid already. That is 3 lots of £45 plus a British gymnastic membership, so £151. My weekly food shop, again, this is a guess. I sometimes spent much less, I sometimes spent more. There might have been like celebration weeks and things like that, but I've averaged it as £30 times £27, so that's £810. One way I kept this figure down, like 230, was by having an Excel spreadsheet and adding stuff up, but it did get a little bit difficult because things, you know, drag on from the previous week. So if I bought a lettuce, that might last me 2 weeks, or if I bought a bulk load of beans or pasta, then you know that would last you. So it does mean that some weeks are a lot more than others. My parents also sent me with loads of like dry food at the start of every term, like dry noodles, pasta, soups, cup of soups, things like that. That really helped because it meant that I always had a base to add more expensive fresh food to the meal, and that kept my costs down. I've guessed that I spent about £5 on every club entry. I've put 54 times, so I've averaged it as £5 twice a week, every week for 27 weeks. That again isn't completely accurate. Like, I sometimes spent less than that club entry, and a lot of them will have been free because one of my best friends worked with the promoting group, but I put it in anyway, so that would be £270. Drinks costs, again, I couldn't be sure of this, but I put £15 per week times 27, so there was a very, very cheap club open in my first year, and we also had a college drink called a Cross Keys, which was very strong and was only £5, which meant that a lot of the time I would literally just buy one of those and then a couple of shots when I got out, because we went out to Pounded where all the drinks were pounds. So, you know, again, it's hard to do, but I'm just guessing that one, and the overall figure for that comes to 405. I also did 2 weeks of fieldwork in the summer, and I got £100 written down for that, which is a lot for 2 weeks, but I bought a lot of ciders and hummus. That's my excuse. I also, so following those 2 weeks, I had 3 more weeks of fieldwork where I was commuting into Manchester and like buying lunches every day for the museum, but I haven't included that because I was given the money back essentially. So I was given £220 back, which just about covered it, so I haven't included it because it wouldn't really add anything, but that happened. I also spent around £142 on gymnastics stash and a Christmas party. I'm not sure why I've joined those together, but I did look through like my bank stuff, so I'm thinking perhaps they were mixed together in the purchases. I'm really unsure. Rowing stash, I spent around £45. Like, I bought socks, a jacket, and a hat. College stash, so stuff like this, and my St. Peter's jumper, I spent a further £100. This is a guess, and it might not have been that much money, but I've bought little bits like throughout the 3 years and not added them on in next year's, so we'll just say £100. And then any money that I spent on like clothes, shoes and bop costumes, I would say is about 60-ish. I didn't buy a lot of clothes, but I bought a couple of like dressing up costumes, items like fairy wings and stuff like that, which adds up in the end. So overall, my total for all of these things is £6,879 for the first year, and it's an average sort of weekly expenditure of around £71 for everything excluding whole food, any lump sum payments, my archaeological dig, my ball, rent or travel home. So that is literally just like food, living, going out, social life. Now for my money in, I'm going to do it on this side. So we've got two lists. I had my maintenance loan, which was £6,700 for first year, a bursary of £600, my bar wages for the year, so this is just calculated on if I worked 2 BOP shifts and 2 regular shifts per term, that equals £480, and any extra bar wages when I covered shifts is £100. So my overall money in is £7,880. So as you can see, I did live within my means. I did that all 3 years, so if I've spent more one year, as I've also like matched that in my earnings. And in terms of working, I would perhaps look when you're applying to Oxford if they've got like a bar that you can work in. So St Peter's and Balliol, for example, have student-run bars, and these bars allow you to both work front of house and actually manage and supervise. So you get really good experience that I never thought I would have managerial experience or treasurer experience, especially paid. And now I have, so it's quite a lot of hours for that, but the actual bar work is not very many hours. And college also let you work access events, so for example interview helping, I did that in my second year. That is quite a lot of money. You basically get 2 weeks of free food, and I used it to pay for my accommodation that month, because you get paid as well as the free food. But if you're looking for a job in Oxford that can get around the sort of you're not allowed to have a part-time job thing, I would look for access work, bar work in the colleges, any open day helping, any like babysitting. So sometimes the tutors have parties and they want students who they trust to work at the parties and babysit children. There's various ways of doing it, and I do have friends who also worked as like club rep people and actually people who worked in the clubs, which isn't technically allowed, but if you can balance it against your work, then the whole signing the thing to say you can't work is essentially so you can't turn around and say, well, I've been working. So yeah, it's a fallback. Now we go on to second year. This year was I think it's my most expensive. Yes, it's my most expensive, and that is because I had to pay for 52 weeks of the year in my rent. We, in the second year, lived out in a private house in Cowley. It's like a 30-minute walk out of the centre. This was because St Peter's didn't offer second year accommodation. They're building it now, but they didn't offer it then, and they still don't at the moment. A lot of colleges will make you live out for 1 year unless there's like a welfare safeguarding type issue, and then they might find you a room. But so in second year my rent was 12 lots of 480. It was £480 a month, £120 a week, which for Oxford was cheap. Like, that is a very inexpensive house in Oxford considering what we got for it as well. I know people who were paying up to £148 a week for less than what we got, and I'm not entirely sure how we managed that. So that came to £5,760, and then electricity, gas, gardener and cleaner came to £277, and I know this because basically I've added up all of the money that I sent into like the group bills bank account. But essentially electricity and gas was obviously while we were there, and then part of our contract stated that we had to pay for a gardener and a cleaner in order to get our deposit back. The deposit, by the way, was £720, which we had to just give in order to secure the house. My Wi-Fi for the year was £60. That was Virgin Media Wi-Fi. Water was £55. However, this is purely based on like an estimated average for a household divided by 7, and I couldn't find where I'd specifically done water because it wasn't in the bills account. We sent it to a specific person who's allocated water, and I couldn't I couldn't work out how much I'd spent. Again, we had the JCR charity and membership costs, and I'm pretty sure it went up. So this time I'm putting £32. Maybe it was more before. Oh well, it doesn't matter. It was around £30 anyway. And my average weekly spend, based on an actual average of kind of 7 months from my bank statement in my second year. So this includes food, clothes, bus into uni, taxis home from nights out, work, cleaning supplies, house purchases such as like a diffuser and a dehumidifier, so some of them were larger purchases. It also includes any cash that I got out of my bank, didn't necessarily spend, and any payments that I sent to my Revolut card, which is like how I budgeted in my second year, but again didn't necessarily spend all of. So it's a bit of a dodgy figure, but I couldn't work out how to do it any other way because second year was weird. I hardly remember the first half of it because I was quite poorly. I calculated that my weekly average was 115. So some weeks were like 43 or 60 and other weeks were right up there in like 180. And part of me is like, I don't understand how that worked. But then I realised I bought a lot of things for my house, like extra chargers for my laptop. I also bought a camera for £120 with like a second-hand small one I could carry around. I bought a dehumidifier, diffuser, some expensive cleaning products. So yeah, it's a bit random. There was some quite big months, some really small. But what I've done is I've done £115 times 36 because I worked out that I was at uni for about 36 weeks of the year and at home the rest of them, so I wouldn't have spent the same amount of money that I did. So that came to £4,370. I also went to a ball for £75, but I didn't buy a dress or shoes, I just wore everything I'd already got. Trips home once per term, again for £150, whole food £230, and this year I started paying for Spotify Premium, so that was £4.99 per month times 9, so I've got £44.91. So my overall out in second year was £11,000 and 55 pence. That sounds like a lot. Okay, so on the inside I have maintenance loan £6,844, bursaries £600, all my bar wages and bar work and interviews, access work, summer school, garden party. So this is all of my wages for the year in all of the jobs that I worked, and that's £5,897. I then also did sociology tutoring, so that's £100, and I also did videography for rugby league, so that was £160. So actually my overall in was £13,601. So once again, even though my outgoings are a lot, I have more incomings because I worked a lot and lived within my means, as I said. I worked a lot on the bar, which meant I felt like I could buy some clothes and I could buy like a diffuser and stuff. That was also because I had mould, so it was quite a necessity. And moving on to third year. Now third year was, again, it was expensive. I've had an absolute nightmare with this video. I'm just trying to edit it and it's meant to be up in 2 hours time, and I've just realised that I haven't filmed any of the third year outgoings. I think what's happened is my memory card has been full and I didn't realise that it was full. I have the third year incomings, but they were on a different memory card, so yeah, I think I've definitely filled one and just not noticed. So I'm gonna do it now. Apologies, I'm in a completely different outfit. This is my dig outfit. I'm not just wearing a skull and a t-shirt. That is a Neanderthal. So third year was again an expensive year, not quite as expensive as second year, but it is because we had to pay more rent again and the actual weekly rent was more expensive. So I paid for 39 weeks of rent. We didn't have to move out in the short holidays and that was £157 a week. So in total it was £6,123 for rent. I again had to pay for a JCR membership 3 times, so that was a total of £12. And my charity donation, I actually only paid for 2 out of the 3 terms this year. I know that sounds dodgy, like I do feel guilty about this, but I couldn't afford my rent. In third year, your maintenance loan decreases because they say that you don't need the money to pay for your holiday when, like, what what is the difference? Some people are still paying for rent in the summer. It is a completely ridiculous policy, but it's there, and because of that, and because we had to pay for so much rent, I could hardly meet it up front anyway, and then actually have stuff to live on as well. So I was just trying to get rid of costs everywhere, and yes, I only saved like £6, but it adds up, doesn't it? So my charity donation for third year was £6. I went home 4 times in third year because of exam stress and also job interviews, so that's £200. My whole meals, I'm going with what I got in second year, but I'm adding an extra £100 because throughout my exams I ate in hall pretty much every night because I just needed a cooked meal and no time actually doing the cooking, so that's £330. I did go to a ball in third year. I went to St Peter's Ball, that was £90, and my dress was £35. So altogether that ball cost £125. My weekly food shop this year is a little bit iffy because some weeks I hardly spent anything and other weeks I got a little bit stressed and spent more on stuff that I really enjoyed as a food as opposed to the cheaper version. And because of that, and also because I paid more weeks rent, I've done £35 times 39, and that makes £1,365 on like a weekly shop. Like I said, that is just a vague number. I was just going off what I usually spent on my weekly shop, but then I would go into Sainsbury's and get little bits and bobs if and when as well, so it's not necessarily right. I also didn't go shopping every week. In third year I did discover Deliveroo, and Deliveroo and exam stress and dissertation stress go hand in hand. So I've written it down as having a bi-weekly takeaway in third year. I've put that I spent £15 16 times, which is £15 every other week. That's just a random figure. It definitely never cost me £15 to get takeaway, but I just wanted to be on the safe side. So that comes out as £240. Now my club entry is a lot less this year because it's third year. I went out a lot less. I put down as it being once a week for 30 weeks because for some of the 39 weeks I wasn't in uni, for some of the 39 weeks I didn't go out at all, and also for some of the 30 weeks I didn't go out at all. But at the start of the year I may have gone out twice if there was, say, a bop or something. I wouldn't have always gone out to a club. Quite often in third year we went to a pub or just into the local St Peter's bar instead of going out. But again, I just wanted to be on the safe side, so I put £5 each time and it comes out about £150. This one's really iffy. Now drinks, I actually got a lot for free or for half price because I was still on the executive bar team in third year. So I put down £400 because post exams I spent more on drinks. During exams I spent nothing, but I did buy like Diet Coke and stuff from the bar, so that counts. And also before that then I would have had like my cross keys and drinks at Bops, but I actually didn't pay for a lot of them, so this also counts for drinks out. I did go on an archaeological dig abroad in third year, and that is where this t-shirt came from. It was €450, so I've just put £450, and then I've added £180 for flights and £50 for spending money. In third year I also paid for 3 prescription prepayments, and that comes to around £90 just under. The reason that I didn't include this in second year and first year is because in first year I was under 19, so I got free prescriptions, and in second year I got free prescriptions with one of those HS2 forms, or what are they called? That's the name of the train. HC2? HC1? Something like that. It's an exemption form for a prescription based on how much money you actually have. It's means tested. But because I earned so much money on the bar and in summer schools in second year, I didn't qualify in third year. We also were turning 21 in third year, so I put birthday presents on here. I put £165 for various friends' birthday presents, but that might have been more, that might have been less. I've also put down, with a question mark, the bus to Cowley once a weekish, so I put £100 on my list. And I did also go to London to watch Les Mis in third year, so I've added that on as £150. I went to the Blenheim Palace Christmas light switch on as well, so I put that as £43. And my friends came after my exams. We went to places like the O2 to watch Shy FX and had some meals out, so I put £40 for that. Then I've got Spotify Premium, which is a total of £44.91, and finally a gym membership for £180. So I think the difference between third year and the other 2 years is that there was much less of an expenditure on kind of nighttime activity and more of a treat yourself with uplifting, nice, sober activities like the gym, Blenheim, Les Mis. My overall out was £10,444, less than previously, but not much less. Now, on the incoming side, I have my maintenance loan, which was £6,500 for this year. The reason they did that is because my brother had £7,000 as his loan because it had just gone up, but because I was in third year I didn't get that, so they matched my brother's loan. I didn't get that £500 until the last term, Trinity. What I did was I tried my best with the lower loan for as long as possible, and then when I actually needed topping up, then I got the rest of it to match it to my brother's. So I got my bursary again, I got £600. Travel grant for specifically to cover my archaeological dig was £500. I also filmed rugby league again, £20 a week for around 10 weeks. I'm not entirely sure because I had weeks where I was really busy with work, and also I stopped to do my dissertation. I put it as £200 as a sort of... In third year I did actually get a hardship grant, so what was really nice about St Peter's is they have a hardship fund. I think most colleges do this. Unfortunately St Peter's didn't advertise it in any way, so this is me advertising it now. There is a fund basically if something goes wrong in your personal life, or if you just find that you are really struggling for money and it's stressing you out, you can go to the finance department, submit an application for a hardship fund. You do have to like send them screenshots of your bank balance so they know that you're not just buying things and then going to them and asking for money. Now I went in very stressed and upset because I hadn't realised that the rent would increase quite as much as it did between what we got advertised it being and, you know, after inflation. So what I planned and how I'd budgeted was very different to what I actually ended up with after I'd paid my first rent payment, and that really stressed me out. I submitted an application and I was told that yeah, you definitely qualify to have some help. I got a total of £1,000, which is incredible. This was in 2 payments of £500, one for each of the first 2 terms, and they really did help me to, well, actually just live as well as survive on the money that I had. So if I didn't get these payments I wouldn't have been able to have a gym membership, and in third year for me having a gym membership was absolutely essential for my like mental health and physical health as well, and also it allowed me to go out and have a little drink with my friends when I needed some downtime, and to be able to go to places like the Blenheim Palace and Les Mis as a reward for getting through such a vigorous term, and I needed it and I was so thankful for that. Otherwise I'd have just spent the whole time stressing about whether I could actually afford to eat as well as enjoy my time there for my final year, and no one in their final year should be worrying completely about food and money when they've got their exams and dissertation to worry about. I did bar work again, so between October and February, not including December and January, I got around £180 a month from the bar. So I've actually found a couple of pay slips to work out this from, but that's about £635 from the bar. And access work with the university is £189. I've also added YouTube money on here as well, which I didn't get in first and second year. I've put from like AdSense £60 every 4-ish months. I didn't get much at all, but the threshold to be paid by Google is £60, so I just about made that every 4 months-ish. and also £200 in sponsorships for the whole year, so that comes to £440. I also did a summer school in July where I earned £1,250, but I didn't get paid until August, and that money was basically to pay for my summer and to start saving for my MSc. So but overall I had 12,814, so again I did quite well in the end. If you're thinking, why did you get a hardship like grant of £1,000 and yet have more incoming than you did outcoming? But that's because there was points when I had no money and were quite into my overdraft because of rent payments, and like the money leaving didn't always match money coming in, particularly like my payments from the bar, depending on like that whole period where I wasn't working. And also the summer school didn't get paid until August, so that includes all of the money that I might not have actually had at a specific time basically. But all in all, I did live within my means. The Oxford website recommends that you budget for an outgoing of a minimum of £9,525 and a maximum of £14,790, and that is based on varying rents between colleges as well as different lifestyles, whether you're living in or out of college, and things like sports memberships. So the minimum spend, which they're saying that you could live off, £9,525, is for colleges like, I don't know, St John's that have really cheap accommodation, whereas the 14,000 would be more for like my second year when you have to pay weekly rent and bills. I know that was a long one, but I wanted to be as transparent as possible and explain everything, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight into how much Oxford might cost you, and as you know, this is just my expenditure. Yours might be much more, yours might be less, I don't know. If you budget more effectively than I did, you'll probably spend less. Like my first year was really cheap because I put more effort into budgeting, but then as I got more and more stressed, it just, you know, it was probably the wrong thing to do because stress equals more stress when you're worrying about money, but I was working so I felt alright. Anyway, I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.